What's up, folks?
How y'all doing? How's everyone doing? It's a gorgeous Saturday morning here. We're gonna get back into programming. We left off here. This is literally where we left off. I haven't touched anything, and we had just programmed a mixin to hopefully inject this method into the advancement class in the advancement method because it was here. Oh, it should be in the validate method. Is that not where we are? I don't think it is. Good thing I looked at this. Doesn't look bad at all. Not a big fan of that. Alright, let's see. What if I just go here, delete a bunch of this? Okay, but I'm brain dead. It's that, yeah, the validate method, which is in this and this. I don't remember exactly what these are, but it's the validate method. It takes in an advancement and it results in a data result. Yes. Okay, so it returns data results. I see. Okay. I don't know. I guess we run it. Guys, I don't think this is gonna work. Like almost positive it's not gonna work, to be honest with you. If it doesn't work, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to troubleshoot this, to be straight with you here. Oh, look at all the baby animals. I need like an advancement, don't I? Can I just get like wood? Oh wait, I haven't got gravel yet. Okay, well, let's see. Wait, hold on, let's see. I don't think it worked. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, let me stop this. I think it is doing. I think it is calling us, but I don't think it's calling it when I think it is. Oh, hold on. So I'm gonna print the actual name of the advancement. Oh my gosh. Print the actual name of the advancement. Then you should actually go with the tail. So watch the logs right here, and it'll show. Okay, that's not me. Yep. So it already did it. Advancement, blah blah blah, logged. Advancement, blah blah blah, logged. Advancement, blah blah blah, logged. Okay. Interesting. My cat's like yelling at me right now. I don't know what he wants, but he's yelling. I'll tell you that much. So this is interesting because what I figured advancement validate would do, it says advancement.requirements.validate. He's going crazy, chat. That's insane. Okay. Advancement requirements validates. You pass in advancement criteria key set, and then you map probably the data result. Yeah, it also returns the data results. So you would map the data results to advancements. Okay. It's like the things we're getting in here. It's like parent equals optional, Minecraft, story, iron tools, smelt iron, root, smelt iron, lava bucket, enter the nether. Okay, so these are all the actual advancements. These are recipe advancements. So here I can open this up a little bit. There's a lot of these. Just one or two, you know? Okay. Now... let's look at some of these. Iron tools, root, smelt iron. No parent. This is interesting. Yeah, I mean, you're loading 1,600 advancements, so it's kind of a lot. How do you know if the advancement is... Okay, let's look at something like smelt iron, right? So this is data Minecraft advancement story. Oh man. These are all, I think these are all JSONs, right? Yeah, these are all JSONs. Yeah, so it gives you the parent. If you look in here, it's Minecraft story slash... Well, so actually this gives you the parent and display optional, then translation, key advancement story, iron tools description, arcs, yada 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 yada. This is the smelt iron. This is the smelt iron advancement. The thing is, this is validate, right? Where isn't there a... Oh, is this not the right one? Oh no, I want to be in this one. There should be a recipe advancement builder. Yes. And then it looks at advancement builder, which is up here, and it creates an empty parent, empty display, some display rewards, criteria, requirements, requirement strategy. Okay, so all of this is in all these JSON files. So I have to figure out where it's mapping the JSON files to. Well, not necessarily. There's two parts to this, right? I would like to know. Oh, guys, these. Let the light. It's so bright. It's actually really bright. Okay, cool. Now you can like see me. I'm not like in the dark. Okay. So I would like to know where the JSON files are being mapped to not JSON files, to the classes. But the more important aspect is I need to know where they're being I guess where they're being triggered is not a concern because like they're being triggered by different events, but I need to know what's being called when they are triggered, right? Because it sets a criteria, which if we look at this, the criteria has cobblestone, conditions, items, stool tool materials. Stone tool materials. Stool tone materials, no. Okay, oh, so you have cobblestone and you have recipe. I don't necessarily know what has cobblestone is. Hold on, let me look at the docs for this. Minecraft advancements. Let's see. This should point us in the right direction. I mean, this should be the right direction. Hold on. Okay. JSON format. There we go. Advanced definition. There we go. Criteria. Takes in the criteria name. Key can be any valid text. Okay, so this actually doesn't map to anything, I don't think. I just lost my space. Like entirely. Where did that just go? Oh, there we go. So criteria is actually, so this is a unique name. And so is this. Like this is just an identifier. This doesn't have any relation. And then this can be anything, I think, right? Is what it just said. It could be any valid text, yep. Then you can have a trigger and you can have conditions. So this has trigger is inventory change, trigger is recipe unlocked. Interesting that there's recipe unlocked. I wonder if I search for recipe unlocked. Yes, criteria triggers recipe unlocked. Takes in a name and then a new recipe unlocked trigger. And what is this? This is going to. Oh, here. Okay. Recipe unlock trigger. Codec just returns the trigger into codec. That's not normal. A trigger does this dot trigger. There's actually a trigger, there's a unlocked, and there's a public record trigger instance. Implements simple criteria trigger simple instance. is interesting. Okay. So trigger takes in a player and a recipe and says this dot trigger. Wait, this doesn't make a lot of sense. It calls trigger on it. It calls. Is it recursive? It passes in T, which is apparently trigger instance. I don't know how we got to that, but it does T dot matches recipe. Which I believe means it's actually passing in a boolean. So I think if I went to this, it would actually be simple criteria trigger, which takes in a player and a matcher, I guess. And then it gets the advancements. Set of listeners equals this dot player dot get advancements. What is this thing? This is map dot class. Oh wait, hold on. What is players? Players is a map of advancements to listeners. So it's going to get a set of advancements. Well, it's going to get a player advancements object from, it's going to get the listener that is mapped to this specific player advancements object, because you're taking in player.get advancements, which returns a object of player advancements. So then if all the listeners are not null and all the listeners is not empty, if all listeners is not null and all listeners is not empty, then it's going to create a player context using player. Don't necessarily know what that means, but I guess we'll figure it out at some point. It's going to create a list of listeners. Then for each listener in all listeners, we're going to create a trigger instance, which is listener.trigger, which could be this, right? Listener.trigger is actually listener.trigger is what's T? I guess T would be whatever type this is, right? I don't even really know what a predicate is, but that's good. Well, we can look that up actually. Predicate is a functional interface that represents a Boolean valued function of one argument. It's primarily used for filtering or matching. Okay. So it's just a matching object. Why they gotta make it so... Why they gotta put all these fancy words in here? Interface predicate here. Here, we can look at this. T is the type of the input to the predicate. And it says the function interface and can therefore be used as the assignment target for lambda expression or method reference. So it just represents a Boolean valued function of one argument. Some test evaluates the predicate on the given argument. It takes in an argument of type T and returns true if the input argument matches the predicate. What if I go here and go back to this example? Creates a predicate called isGreater, which sets it equal to a lambda expression, which is n. When you take in n, you return n greater than 10. So then if you test with 15, it's true because it's greater than 10. So predicate is just a function, really. Okay, so this is taking in a function. And this is passing in a function, right? Taken T, which I don't know how it knows that T is a type of trigger instance. That seems a little sketchy, but like, I don't know how it knows that, but nonetheless, taken T and return T dot matches. Okay, so then we create a listener of that same type, which is actually the trigger instance. So it's criterion trigger.listener, listener of type trigger instance. Okay. Then we're gonna create, a trigger instance here. I see. And it's set equal to current listener and all listeners, which again, all listeners is it's a thing. It does stuff. Okay. All listeners is a set trigger of criterion trigger dot listeners of type T. Now I'm not exactly sure how, like, oh wait, no, I know. Yeah, so like all listeners, which we're looping through, is a set of criterion triggers dot listeners of type T, which has been set to players that get advancement. Now players is a map of player advancements and two sets of criterion trigger dot listeners type T. And again, so this whole thing is just based off type T, right? So it's only slightly confusing. But this takes in a trigger instance. Okay, so every time we see T, we could just assume it's a trigger instance because that's the type we're passing into this. Okay. So we loop through all listeners. Which is a set of listeners of type trigger instance. We create a trigger instance by doing listener.trigger. Now this is not a listener, this is a trigger. So I don't know exactly what the listener would be, or like what an example of that would look like. Because this is, again, this is a trigger. I mean, you could probably get, this is just a new identity hash map. I don't know where this actually gets set or added to or anything. I guess here, add player listener. This dot players dot compute if absent. Okay. Passes in a player, and K results in sets dot new hash set. Dot add listener. Oh, I see. Okay, so if players is absent, you would map a player, which is a player advancement, to yeah, hold on, let me look this one up too. Compute if absent. I put map if absent. Whoops. Okay, let's see. Compute if absent. So it takes in a key and a function. A function of type K and extends V and something? I don't know. If the specified key is not already associated with the value or is mapped to null, it attempts to compute its value using the given mapping function and enters it into the map unless null. I hate that it doesn't have any big examples. Okay, if this key is absent, then map the key to a new value and pass in function ffk to compute the value, I think is what it's saying. So here, if the player you pass in is not in this map, it's going to map it to a new hash set. And then once it gets the player, right, it's going to get the player. It's either going to be whatever the player is mapped to, or if it's not mapped to anything, it's going to be a new hash set. And then it's going to map that new set to, or it's going to add the pass to the listener to the set. Okay. Criterion trigger dot listener type T is something, but that's for a later date, I guess. Let's get back to this. So you get the trigger from the listener. Then if matcher, is matcher a thing in here? No. Why would matcher be a thing? If matcher.test. Yes, it is. This is the matcher. Okay, so you test it by passing in trigger instance, which means you're gonna call you're gonna call trigger instance, which is the trigger instance of the listener. Holy cow. My current guess is that when some sort of event happens, something like when a recipe is unlocked, my guess is that it would add a listener to this list, right? This is my guess, is that when my guess is that when a My guess is that when a event occurs, it can add a listener to. Now, I don't specifically know how it knows which listener to add to. Maybe it's just coded like you unlock a recipe wherever that event is in this code base. When it happens, it calls recipe unlocked trigger dot add player listener, and then it adds a listener, whatever that listener is. That's the thing. This criterion trigger is like, this is a simple criterion trigger, but it's just passing in the criterion triggers listener, which this doesn't have a listener, because like this extends criterion trigger. Criteria trigger has add player listener, remove player listener, remove player listener, create criteria, and listener. Public record again. I don't know what a record is either. Maybe I should look this up too. Seems to be coming up in a couple places. Let me make sure. This is. This is Java-Lang, yeah. Let's see. Gemini says that a Java record is a special kind of class introduced to model plain data aggregates with minimal boilerplate code. Record is declared using the record keyword following my name and a list of components. So I guess it just is a listener based off the type, a type that extends trigger or criteria trigger instance, and it takes in a trigger, an advancement, and a criteria, and then it has a method run that, wait, why is, I don't get it. Oh, I think it's just like a fast way to set up it's a fast way to set up a class. It's really just a class, but I think what it's doing for my, 10 seconds of reading this is it sets this to this dot trigger. This is this dot advancement. This is this dot criteria. You don't need to create a constructor to do that. It'll just, like, this is just a basic class object that you pass in these things, and you want them to be instance variables, right? So then when you call run, you don't have to return anything, but you do player.award, the advancement you passed in, and this criteria you pass in. Where's trigger? Why does it not call trigger? Why do you think it does this? Why would you do this? Why would you pass in a trigger if you don't actually mean it? Sorry. Okay. It's also final, so you can't change anything. Okay, yeah, so the Java compiler automatically generates several numbers based on the record header. Canonical constructor with the same signature as the header. Public access methods, name instead of get name. Implementation for equals and hash code based on all components, and a two-string method that lists all component names and values. Okay. Very interesting. Guys, every time I mod Minecraft, I'm just like, why don't I just make Minecraft? And then I have to remind myself that would be silly. Like, people have done it. I know a bunch of people. Well, not a bunch of people, but I actually know one person that's done it. And I know a lot of people have done it. Like, I've seen videos of people that have done it. I don't know them specifically, but I've seen that a lot of people have done it. And I also know somebody that's done it. Like, it's definitely a very common project. But, nonetheless, I still don't know what's going on here, guys. Oh, okay. So let's just... We got the trigger from the listener. That's why trigger's passed in, so you can get the trigger. Okay. So I got the trigger from the listener. Then I say, yo, pass in this trigger. And this trigger has a, because it's a trigger instance of type yeah, I mean, I don't know how you know what type of trigger instance it is, but this is going to be a recipe trigger instance. So just match it. Well, it's not necessarily. I assume all trigger instances have a wow, okay, this is confusing me. So you just pass in, you have a matcher, and you're just going to pass in a trigger instance to the matcher. You just have to assume that the matcher, well, you know the matcher is taking in a trigger instance. So whatever the matcher does with it, you don't really care. But this specific matcher for recipe unlocked checks to see if the recipe this trigger instance has is equivalent to the recipe it's given. Right? Because this trigger instance says okay, if you want to match with me, okay, you need to give me a recipe. I'm going to compare that to the recipe that I have. If they're the same, I'll return true. If not, I'm returning false. So then when we make this predicate, or we make this function, we say given a trigger instance, return trigger instance that matches, and pass in this recipe that I have gotten. So then, when you come down to here, it says, okay, pass in the matcher, which is this, and given that matcher, test it, pass in the trigger instance that you've gotten from the listener we're currently at. All that's gonna, like, it doesn't, well, it matters because the trigger instance will be assigned a recipe. The trigger instance will have a recipe, right? Therefore, henceforth, because the trigger instance has a recipe, because the trigger instance has a recipe, that's say, okay, so then if it's true, if the recipes of the trigger instance and the current trigger are equivalent. How I'm assuming this works is there. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to figure out how to put my iPad on the screen, and then I can draw on my iPad. That's what I need to do. But for the meantime, there's two different triggers. One, there's a trigger and a trigger instance. This trigger here is on a recipe unlocked trigger, so I assume that anytime a recipe is unlocked, this gets triggered, right? And it passes in the player that it probably passes in a player and the recipe that they have unlocked. And then if the recipe that the player has unlocked matches the recipe in the trigger instance that is in the player's advancements, then this is true, and it creates an optional context-aware predicate, which is trigger instance.player. How does that even make sense? That's not even a boolean. Now I'm just confused. Context-aware predicate, of course. What is this? I'm scared to even look at this. It implements a validable. Oh gosh. What did we just set it to? We just set this to trigger instance.player, which is another context-aware predicate. Okay, don't know where we're getting that from. We're gonna just cut this. We're cutting this off right here. And then if the predicate is empty or predicate.get casted to a context-aware predicate dot matches player context. Where are we getting player context? That is the entity predicate dot create context. Okay. Then if listeners is null, then listeners equals new list. Otherwise, listeners add listener. Oh my gosh. Guys, I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused. Okay. Just keep on keeping on, you know? Then once you get done with this, if there's no more listeners, or if there's no listeners, then... Oh, if there are listeners, haha. Yeah, so if the recipes match, then... So essentially what you do is you pass in a trigger instance and you say if the trigger instance meets whatever criteria you've passed in, right? So this is essentially a set of criteria. Like here, the set of criteria is that the instance has to be equal to this recipe. But on a more broad scale, because this is a parent object, a lot of different things are assumed. If the trigger instance you get all the listeners. You get the current players' advancements, right? Player advancements triggers. So, I don't know. You get a player's... Yeah. You pass in a player, you get their advancements. You do player.get advancements. You get the player's advancements, then you pass in, or then you get the triggers that, or the listeners that map to that advancement. Then for each listener that player has, you would check to see if the listener's trigger meets the criteria that you passed in. And if so, then you essentially add the listener. Just my understanding. Listeners is set equal to null to begin, so the first one would probably fall in here. I assume these are just like checks on the state of the player. I don't know. Listeners equal lists dot new array list. Oh yeah, so if listeners is null, then you just instantiate a new list. That's pretty straightforward. And then you add the listener if it meets the criteria, right? Like that's the gist of things. Then once you go through all the listeners, you say, okay, did any of the listeners meet the criteria? Yes, they did. Okay, now for every listener that met the criteria, run it with its advancements, with the player's advancements. Now, I don't specifically know what this does. It does player.award this advancement, this criteria. It takes in an advancement holder and a string. Hold on. This run only takes in advancements, which means yes, takes in player advancements. Then that player, the player advancements, it awards the advancements. It calls award on player advancements. Yes. Guys, this is insane. Takes in an advancement holder and a string. It's going to set result equal to false. Then it's going to set the progress equal to this dot get or start progress. Pass in the holder. Don't know what that does, but you have an advancement progress essentially. And then you have a tracker of is the progress done or not. Assume most of the time it starts off as false. So then if progress dot grant progress pass in criteria, then this dot unregister listeners of the holder, then progress changed dot add the holder, set the result equal to true, and then if it wasn't done and the progress is done, holder dot value dot rewards dot grant this player. Guys. Okay, I wonder if we can just go back to here. Let's get rid of some of these. odds if we just change this to like, I'm editing advancement right now. Is there no advancement? I don't think there is. I don't think it ever goes to advancement. Let's see. We got a logger, a JSON, player list, path, advancement tree, advancement holder, advancement progress, advancement holder, advancement node, advancement holder. Now, to be honest, I would have to assume that advancement progress had advancements in it. I could be wrong. I think I am.
How does it even know what the advancement is, bro?
So it has requirements and criteria, but then there's a separate advancement.
This is ridiculous. This is absurd. Who does this?
This is so ridiculous. I can't even, bro. I can't even do this. Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw, instead of an advancement.class, this is gonna be player advancements.class, of course. Then I'm gonna do award. I thought that would work. It didn't work. I thought it would just autofill it. Takes in these two. Oh, I forgot how to go between. Oh, I think it's like, no. Hold on, I forgot how to go between files. I don't use IntelliJ that often. File. Navigate. Bruh, what do you mean? There we go. No, I don't have to touch bar. What? Sir. This should not be this hard. How do I like switch between files? Tap. It's tap. That's right. I would guess it's in navigate. It's not. Select next tab, select previous tab. Alt right, alt left. What's up with this? Why is this? Why is this not? Okay. Whoa. Yeah, it's this one. Expect me to know these things. If I just look up fabric mix-ins, it should show me. Yeah. Hey, Jack. Yes, that one. Structure. Here we go. Fairground structure looks like, yeah, method equals blank at. Oh, okay. So there's method equals at equals. Okay. So I need to know how to do the method attribute. Specifies the method in the target class to inject into. If there's no overloads, then it's not. Otherwise, a more specific descriptor is required, consisting of a name followed by parameter descriptors or return type descriptor. See the target section for JVM descriptors. Okay. This is what I'm going to do. This is the same thing. Literally just something like that. Point that calls target call statements remembers the field the injection points to the target can be specified in the format of at. Oh no, that's not. So I think I would just do all of these. And is there, hold on. It's followed by, yeah, so. I think it would be L. Advanced stakeholder. Followed by string. This is just a string. So that would be what? Oh, okay. Also, oh, hold on. This. I just don't understand why like the last one was fine. and this is. Let's just do this again. Yep. That's not gonna work. This should be fine. And then what's this? This is gonna be it's net.minecraft.advancements/advancement holder, and this is java.lang. So java /lang/string. Doesn't like this. Let's see if I can do an inject. There we go, hold on. At head method equals. Yeah, it just doesn't like this. Ugh, okay. Net/Minecraft. Oh, this is why. Hold on. L java/lang/string. Oh, hold on. There we go. Yep, so I can't find this, which is kind of to be expected because it returns a boolean. So now I have to just put a boolean here. Yeah, it still doesn't like that. I hate the fact that it doesn't put the whole thing in there for me. I wonder why. Is there multiple There's not multiple award methods, is there? And like this is player advancements. I'm using the right one, right? I would do so. Not that mic, not that server. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask ChatGPT. No, we're gonna ask Claude actually. Because I don't know. The inject method is not being recognized. Nope. Nope. Okay. Let's copy this. Good catch. Chat said that there's no semicolon there. And look at that. It works now. Haha. Okay. What's up with this? Yes, it does. Bruno, why? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, that's right, that's right. I see. What have we got roles here? Non-constant string as argument to info login code. That's fine. What? Okay, cool. That's good to know. Alright. Let's just... yeah, let's just let it rip. Hold on. I'm gonna go grab some water real quick. BRB, folks. You can vibe to the craft. BRB. We're back. All right. Hold on. What a slew of stuff. Okay. Okay. This is what I want, guys. This is what I want. Yes. Okay, so now, hold on, now. I can craft, or now I guess I have a bunch of recipes that I can craft, right? Not necessarily. Hold on. Let me get another one and let me see if it happens again. No, so it doesn't. I need a new object. Let's see. Let's get some. What? It didn't give me it. Oh. Okay. Yeah, okay. So every time I get a new object, it loads a couple stuff. So I got whatever it's called. What's the thing called where you do the thing? Gravel. I got gravel, and so then it loaded a bunch of these, right? I got birch, and then I got these, right? 100% brain power. Now, okay, now, if I get, okay, but the only thing is, like, I don't have, oh, okay, but I bet you if I get this, okay, so now I have story root logged, and then what are we doing here, bro? Hold on. Controls. I need to turn sheets on. How do I do that? No. Alright, let's try this. So unloading, the only thing it does, so I created a new world, right? Recipes, decorations, crafting table is logged. And adventure time is logged. Interesting. Okay. Okay, nothing. I got nothing but dirt. I got acacia plates, acacia woods, charcoal, all those. Now if I make a crafting, okay, hold on. I need gravel again. Okay, here we go. Bunch of those. I don't have the recipes in my book, but theoretically, yep, so I got a bunch of stuff there. Yep, so I can make all this concrete powder, right? Okay. So this makes sense. It is interesting though that I did this. This loaded 22 advancements, right? This is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's only 17. I wonder if it compiles. 17 plus 5 is 22. Yes. Then this is another. This is not 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is 11. And then this is apparently 3 more somehow. Okay. Okay. So this, guys, this makes sense. Now what I need to do is I need to set recipe. Well, there's 2 options. My first option is that I can change the configuration of all the... So all of these blocks have a recipe. Here, I'll bring this up. So all these blocks have some sort of recipe. Again, we'll look up like acacia planks, right? Let's include all those. I wish I could include this by default, but anyways, acacia planks. This one right here. So this is the recipe. Every block has some sort of criteria, right? So you need requirements, has recipe, has log. So this is has log, this is has recipe, has the recipe. Interesting. And so yeah, you have criteria, you have requirements, you have rewards, right? So what I want to do is I want to actually change whenever this recipe unlocked criteria is checked, I want to just return false. I think is what I want to do. And so what I'm doing is I'm injecting at a ward. An award is down here. It doesn't necessarily know if Yes, it does. I think it does. Maybe. It knows that a criteria has been triggered. The criteria is correct, I think. And it runs player award. So I want to make this specific to only recipes though. And so this is calling player awards, passing in the advancement holder and the criteria. So I still need to figure out where, I'm checking. Wait. If I put a breakpoint here, will it actually stop? Could I have just done this the entire time? Am I kind of brain dead? Can I like increase the font size here? We're stuck loading. Okay. So the player is what's being passed in here. Let's check the advancement. Can we check the advancement holder? This dot advancement is pink concrete, so it's concrete powder. So, and then what's the criteria? Has gravel. Okay, if we skip to the next one. So all these are just checking has gravel. Very interesting, considering the fact that no, because that's being triggered when here you can see it here. I mean, this is has log, but this is being triggered on inventory change. We need to find a trigger for recipe unlocked, which in reality is going to be called here. Why did it say no? Okay, get rid of that breakpoint. This is gonna load a bunch of stuff for a bunch of. So we shouldn't run into anything, but then when we get a block, like let's say we need a new block, like oak wood, it should trigger again. No. Why not? Why doesn't this trigger here? Let me just stop this. Oh yeah, I don't think you can set breakpoints in the middle. I think that's the problem. Maybe not. may just not be able to set breakpoints at all. Let me hold on. Sorry, guys. It's so small. Huh. This file does not like breakpoints. Why does it do this? What about this unlocked method? That returns a criteria with the recipe unlocked trigger instance type. Also very interesting that you're able to pass in a type that is defined in the class that you're creating. But okay. It's gonna return a criteria trigger dot recipe unlock dot create criterion new recipe unlock trigger instance optional dot empty and pass in a recipe. Can I find an instance of this? There's only one. It's the builder. Okay. Couple uses of this. In custom crafting recipe builder. Oh, and all the builders. Okay, so this is another thing, right? This custom crafting recipe builder calls this save method, which recipe builder dot create crafting comment info true crafting recipe dot crafting book info recipe builder dot create crafting book info category group. It just passes in. Oh, it builds it based off the output, which this takes in. And then output.advancement.add criteria, name has recipe. Yep. Okay. So this is interesting. I figured out how the JSON files are created into classes. That's good. Bro, I should probably fix this camera. This is like not very. I like sit over here and then everybody's like, bro, I can see every face. Okay. So there's two options. I could inject in a couple places. One would be to inject here and then say, you would just say that the recipe unlocked, recipe unlocked trigger dot unlocked ID. Which would just create a new recipe unlock trigger. Can I put a breakpoint here? I don't think it likes me putting breakpoints in these files at all. I really don't think it likes it. Oh no, I can. Just not. Nope, I can't. Why? all the breakpoints turn gray. Hold on. I need to figure out why these breakpoints are turning gray. Do I need to inject stuff here like I was doing before? I am editing, or I am modding Minecraft in IntelliJ and in some files. Any breakpoints I set turn to gray skip icons. Why? So it says class isn't loaded by the JVM you're debugging. Mixin transformed classes are a common culprit. If you're setting breakpoints in a Mixin class, a bytecode that actually runs the target class, not your Mixin source file, IntelliJ can't match your source file. Okay, cool. So we just have to take the Mixin out. That's all. So if we just go. Oh my gosh, okay, I don't know what just happened. If we go here and then do this, and then oh, because you're still set in the didn't like that. Okay. No, still didn't like it. Still didn't like it. Huh. Interesting. I really just need to figure out how to. I really just want to figure out how to set a breakpoint here, because if I can't set a breakpoint here, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's gonna make it slow. Set a breakpoint here. Set a breakpoint here. Yeah, just done. What? No executable code found at line 20. Okay. Let's try this. Okay. We set breakpoints at, not where the code is, I guess. Oh, I don't specifically want anything to be set here. Okay. we have a trigger here. Okay, so this makes sense. I got a new recipe and it triggered. This checks out. So now the trigger, the recipe is probably stick, right? Recipe, no, it's wooden axe. Muy interesante. I guess what I would want to know is why well, actually, let's do this. Let's go to wooden axe. Where's the advancements? Yeah. Okay, so has stick. Has the recipe. This is recipe unlocked. How does it know to call it when you get a stick? Can I go to the stack trace? What? Bruh. Well, I guess let's go here. Find usages. What's it? Alt Shift 7. So there's one place where it exists. In the server recipe book, add recipes. It takes in recipes and a player, and it says, "Hey, my guy, I hope you're having a great day. I would like to create a list of recipe book add packet.entries called recipes to add. And I want to loop through all the recipes you've given me, and for each of those get their ID, and then if this .known contains that ID and the recipe value is not special." Wait, okay. Oh, so probably if it's not already in the book, and this, my guess is that known is recipes you already have. So my guess is if you don't already have the recipe and the recipe is not special, because screw those special recipes, we don't care about them anyways. If that's the case, then add the recipe, add the highlight for the recipe, then display resolver displays for recipe, which takes in the ID, the display returning, that takes in a function, I think that's what this is, which is the recipe display entry, and returns recipes to add, passes in something. Oh my gosh, this is a disaster. Okay, so it display resolves the display or something, and then critical triggers recipe unlocked trigger. Okay, so now what is this called? What did I say? Like Alt Shift 7 or something? Yeah, something like that, right? Did I get it right? Oh, I did get it right. Let's go. Okay. This, my guy, is server recipe book. No. There we go. Add recipes is called in server player award recipes. Now where, my good sir, is this called? Whatever. Okay, go here. Bruh. So this award recipes being called in server player just adds a recipe to a recipe book, and it takes in a bunch of recipes. So there's a server command in the recipe command class that's give recipes. Takes in command source stack, collection of players, and a bunch of recipes, and then it does some stuff. Oh, but then for each player in the server, it calls player.award recipes. And then based on how many players have succeeded, no, based on how many players there are, it will send success, single, multiple, different commands. Okay, so now I don't know. I'm really not sure. I don't know where give recipes comes from. This is actually not great that we encountered this, because I don't know where this is coming from. I just want to know how it decides, right? The goal right now is I need to figure out, I get a stick. How does it decide that it needs to call the recipe trigger for a wooden axe? Because like this wouldn't tell you, right? Award recipes, it just passes in recipes and this, and then if you go to here, this just, I mean, this will like do all the recipe stuff. What? But does it? Wait, I thought this called... Oh, it does. It says critical triggers recipe unlocked. Is that what our breakpoint was? What was our breakpoint? No, the breakpoint was a match. We actually have a breakpoint here, and it did not get hit, which is interesting. Maybe not considering the fact that it returned the line above, but it's just like, nah, there's no code here. Don't even bother with that. Okay, thanks. Okay. Why is this one diamond, do you think? It's a method breakpoint, that's why. We should probably get rid of this. That's fine. So, now what? Wait, hold on, but this did call... I don't even know where we're at anymore. This called trigger. This, like, hold on. Our breakpoint has the recipe wooden axe, right? I don't know if he's actually... Um, it gave us the rest. So it called our breakpoint was here. Oh yeah, this should trigger. Yeah, this shouldn't be a problem. We'll see. Okay. So it triggered with the recipe as what it asked when I got a stick. So I want to know how getting a stick results in a trigger being made for a wooden axe. And I'm starting to see it, right? Because this is called by server recipe book, which says, okay, pass in the player and pass in the recipe for the wooden axe. Now this gets called by server player, which awards the recipe for the wooden axe, or probably multiple things, but no. The wooden axe, yeah, multiple things possibly. This might get called on multiple things, but right now it's the wooden axe. Anyways. Okay. And then this gets called by possibly a number of things. It could be this. It could be this. Word recipes by key. This is award used recipes. This is use. And this is award used recipes and pop experience. I'm going to guess it is not award used recipes, right? This is use, which is interesting. Takes in a level of player into interaction hand. Creates an item stack with what is in the player's hand. It then creates a list of recipe IDs from the item stack. Yeah, from the item stack. Then it consumes one of the item stack. If recipe IDs is empty, then interaction result fail. Otherwise, if the level is not client side, okay. For each recipe, which would mean, see, this is interesting because it's item stack get or default data components dot recipes. Can you see what this is right now? Wait, what? Oh, I think because this is static, isn't it? Yeah. You can't see what this is. Okay. Yeah, you can see what this is. Yeah. Okay. So for each recipe that's in the player's hand is weird because you can only have one thing in your hand at a time. You can't have a stack of multiple things. So it's interesting. But I think I'm just probably not understanding it correctly. It will go through each recipe ID and it will call recipe.add. And it will do player.award recipe. Guess is it something like this? You know what we could do? The thing that sucks is that I have to do this like every time. But let's go back to here. Let's step through this. So we hit the trigger. We go here. Back to here. This is simple criterion triggers. I don't know why we're here. We're back here. Recipe is wooden axe, and this dot recipe is waxed oxidized copper bulb from honeycomb. Okay. These breakpoints away. Okay. What if I get this? Nope, I can't get that. Okay, what if I get... Oh, sorry guys. Oh, here, let's kill a chicken. What? Not a single breakpoint? Could have been that one. Okay, so it looks like it was this one, right? No. What? That's so weird. Okay, let's pause this. Okay, I've now lost all of my hope. It's all gone. Oh man, okay. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Because again, like we had this trigger was being called. And the only thing that calls trigger is this. Server recipe book. Let's set this here. And I want to check something else. It didn't even ask me what kind of world I wanted to create. Do I have? My render distance. I feel like this is very far render distance. Okay, let's grab something. Okay, here we go. Pause. We are here. Yeah, actually, let's just check render. Wooden shovel is now it's a boat, now it's a ladder, sword, campfire, wooden pickaxe. Okay, so there's a bunch of things that this is actually called on. So this is fine, because we can go here, and I can grab, let's put a breakpoint here. Doesn't like that. Man, why does it not like to put breakpoints in loops? Look at this. I don't like the fact that it's not doing that. Okay, you did breakpoints, whatever. Bro, Claude's like, those aren't skip breakpoints. Those are muted, disabled breakpoints. Okay, sure. Whatever. No, and then its response. I just sent it that screenshot. Its response. Sorry, I dropped my ball. Its response was, you just hit the global mute breakpoints button. No, I didn't. Are you? Like, you are wrong. This is what hitting mute breakpoints does. What's this actually called? Yeah, that is actually called mute breakpoints. Like, come on, Sonnet. What are you doing? Actually, why am I on Sonnet? Shouldn't I be on, like, Opus? I can't be on Opus. That's okay. Okay, okay, no. So, I want a breakpoint on line 82. But it is being set to a slashed circle, slashed gray circle. Instead of the usual red. I don't have mute breakpoints on. I was just showing you what it would look like if I did turn it on, so you could see that you were wrong. That's condescending. That's rude. Let's see what it says. Breakpoint line 82 specifically uses is set properly. Line 82 is success. Yep. Inside lambda for each loop body. Okay, this is fun. Oh no, I don't even want to be here. I want to be here. So it's getting to here. Whoa. It's getting to here without going. It's getting to here without going to here. Because this is player award recipes. Add recipes. I see. What? No. Oh my gosh, okay. Oh yeah, wait, hold on. This is add recipes. I need this to be set here. Okay. Oh no. Yeah. Hold on. Let's see. Sand. Perfect. This gets caught here. Does not get caught here. So it's not being called from here. Bro, could you just show me the stack trace? Oh wait, hold on. Server player. Bro, you're blind. You're just straight up lying to me. What? Bro, this is cap. Because this goes in here. This is never calling anything to do with server recipe book. Like, okay, go down here. Go to this. I mean, I guess it could, but bro, I think it's gonna go. back here in server player, then it goes back here in advancement awards. And then it goes here in player advancements. This is like after save, I guess. And then here in player.award. Wait. No. Server player? Hold on. Am I dumb? Am I? Oh no, server recipe book. Let's add recipes. But wait. Is player advancements dot award. This is the criteria trigger. I'm like so far gone at this point. This is player advancements dot award, which is here. Award is here. Yeah. So I see how it calls. Okay. I see it creates a server player and calls this dot trigger. Okay, I'm seeing that. And that is oh wait, no. No, this is an inventory change trigger. And then it calls this dot trigger, passes in player, and this. What does it know what any of these are? So I got a sand. Okay, so this is the sand. Just not entirely sure where it goes, like where it calls add recipes. This is server player restore from. This is also server players restore from. Old player is another server player. Got requested bug subscriptions. So where it's gonna go next? No, it goes to advancement rewards grant. But again, it's you give experience points. You do player.level. You build loop parameters or something. You do if player.add item stack. Player.get random player drop. Player container menu. Player award recipes by key. That's it. That is it. Okay. Guys, I need to take note of this. Oh, I took notes on my notes app last time. Okay, so let's document this as advancement rewards dot grant goes to server player dot award recipes by key, which goes to server player dot award recipes, which goes to server recipe book server recipe book dot, I think it's add recipes. That's what it was, right? Yep. Which then calls recipe unlocked trigger dot trigger. Holy Christmas. Okay. Okay. So this is a mess. Now, advancement rewards.grant. How does this go from you're awarding this dot recipes? How did we get this dot recipes? Are we adding to a recipe somewhere, or not from here or not? I just can't believe it didn't stop at award recipes by key. Like, why would it not stop there? You know? It's interesting. Is all. Like, it should stop here. Okay, but anyways. Where is recipes coming from? Not getting set or edited anywhere here. Oh, so this is actually, no, it takes in recipes. Okay, so let's go to the one before this. We need to figure out who calls a grant. Yeah, so we got here also. I don't know what this is about, if this is actually about anything. Oh, this is an advancement for rewards. This is player advancements. Okay, well, let's see where's. Whatever. Oh, wait, hold on. It's Alt Shift 7. Okay, so you can find it 2 places in player advancements. So it's check for automatic triggers and award. Okay. So even though I think it's just a little messed up because it's the bytecode. Like I think it's just a little bit messed up. But if we just say that it is a ward. Hold on. It's definitely down. It's definitely a ward because. Oh my gosh, where is it? It's holder and criterion. So it gets passed in by. Hold on, I gotta update this flowchart. Player advancement dot award. Okay. There, it is my little chart, guys. Okay. Player Advancement Award is taking in the advancement holder for glass, and the criteria has smelts to glass. Oh, has smelts to glass. Yeah. Okay. So this is being caused by what I could only assume is an inventory change trigger, which I think I realized earlier. This is not the recipe acquired trigger or whatever, you know? Which makes sense, I think. Yeah. So I bet you if we go back one, it'll be criteria trigger. Criterion trigger dot listener dot run. And then if we go back one more, it's from simple instance, which call no. Trigger takes in player and matcher. Yeah, so it's gonna be from the simple criterion trigger dot trigger. Almost certainly. Oh, whoops. So I assume this because this gets I understand why this gets triggered, right? Because because there's something's added to the inventory. So then it's going to call this and do all of this stuff and this, and then it's going to call listener.run on everything. This checks out of my head. So if we go through this, so something's added to the inventory, right? That's going to call... Oh, actually, yeah, this is just a simple criterion trigger. Why don't we go back one more to the inventory change trigger dot trigger. Okay. So here's what happens. Something gets added to the inventory, and the inventory change trigger gets triggered, right? Then this is going to call this simple criterion trigger. Anything that's added to any... This just checks... See, it doesn't actually make... It doesn't make complete sense. I'm like understanding what it's doing, but not necessarily how or why, maybe. Triggered instance. Well, let's see right here. Let's see. So we have the player. For inventory, which the items in here are just stick, sand, and then a bunch of air. Your changed item is sand. Your slots full are 0 slots full, 41 slots empty, and 2 slots occupied. So then all you have to do is check to see if it matches this, which it's just going to if this slots matches full slot empty occupied, then yeah. If this dot items is empty, I don't know that I understand why item should be empty. Oh, shoot. This is going too far beyond me. Okay, let's just try and simplify this. Let's look at this from an abstract level because I am not going any deeper than this right now. Something in the inventory is changed. The inventory change trigger is triggered. Then that is going to call this simple criterion trigger to say, hey, look at all your... Well, what it's going to say is it's going to pass in the state of its inventory, right? It's going to say, hey, here's my inventory. Hold on. Yeah, it's this trigger. Yeah, so it's going to say, hey, here's my player. Here is what the trigger instance needs to match. Inventory, changed items, slots full, slots empty, slots occupied. Then you're going to go to the criterion listener. You're going to go to the criterion listener trigger. And this is going to say, okay, let's get the player's current advancement listeners. Let's go through all the listeners, get the
Wait, is this different than the
Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, so it's going to say get the listeners, as long as there's listeners that are there, then go ahead and go through all those listeners. Look at the listener's trigger. I don't necessarily understand where the player's advancements come from, right? I don't understand what you're comparing all of these. Because you're essentially comparing this event to all the players' possible advancements. You're grabbing a player's advancements and you're saying, okay, I want you to check every single one of these advancements against the advancement that was just, or all of these advancement triggers to the trigger that was just passed in, right? So in that case, you're just checking to see if the action that has just been performed triggered something that should trigger an advancement that the player can get. So now for anything that matches, right? Any triggers that match between the trigger that's been procced and triggers that will lead to an advancement, you add those to a list, and then you're going to call run on all of those. Did I do the right one? Okay, so then when you call run on them, they will award the player, which is actually just the player advancements, with this advancement and this criteria. You're getting the advancement and the criteria from the listener. Yes, because it's a listener for criteria, I guess. But it has to listen. The listener has to have a trigger, an advancement, and a criteria. Because then when you call the listener and tell the listener to run, it needs to know what advancement to run, or it needs to know what advancement to award and what criteria that advancement needs. You have completed the event. You've completed an event that should be, that at that point the game should check to see if the criteria has been met for this current advancement. Okay, let me try and break this down one more time, and then we'll probably end stream. Every advancement in Minecraft has a trigger, which is some sort of event, and it has a criteria, which are some sort of requirements that are needed in order for the advancement to be achieved, right? So a bunch of triggers are made, each one with their own listener. Now, whenever an event whenever event occurs, let's take for example your inventory changes, a trigger is created that contains the events of that, or contains the like the parameters and the details of that event, right? So for example, the inventory change trigger, it takes in the trigger, takes in the player, you almost always need that, and it takes in the slots of the inventory and the items something and some items, right? Those are details of the event. Then what happens is when that trigger, when an event happens and something is triggered, a trigger is triggered. It's weird because there's so many triggers. But when an event happens and that event's trigger is triggered, what happens is it takes the details of that trigger and it compares it to all the players' advancement triggers. Every player has a list of advancements that I'm assuming is what is available for them to achieve. And each one of those advancements has its own correlated trigger. That trigger contains of, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it contains of a trigger, like the event itself, the advancement, and the criteria that is needed to meet that advancement. So what it does is it compares the trigger of the event that has taken place with the trigger of what has taken place. So for example, if you pick up sand, it'll say, okay, the inventory has changed, trigger the inventory change trigger with, the details of sand being in inventory, your current state of the inventory, the current player, all that. Then that's what this is doing, right? It's calling this trigger. Then it's going to call one level up and check just amongst the generic trigger object, checks amongst all the advancements. So it's going to go through all these listeners for each advancement. Each one has its own trigger, and it's going to say, okay, does the trigger of, which is what this does here, it's a matcher, does this current trigger we're looking at for this advancement match the details of what happened here? So in other words, you look at an advancement, let's say an advancement for like a wooden axe, right? It's like, oh no, the advancement for a wooden axe is your inventory changes and you have sticks and wood in your inventory. Okay, that's not the details of this. So then it goes down until it finds one like glass, right? The trigger for glass is that you have sand in your inventory. It's like, okay, yep, those match up. So then it adds that to a list, and then once it goes through all the advancement triggers, it will run everything that it deems is, should be, all the listeners that should be run. Now, when the listeners are run, it awards the player that this is relevant to the advancement with the criteria of the advancement also passed in. So now this will go to here, and it's actually going to check. This is kind of complicated. I haven't completely understood this yet, but my understanding is that this will check all the criteria of the event to make sure not just that one criteria related to that one event is possible. For example, let's say a wooden axe, right? You need wood planks and you need sticks. If you get sticks, you're gonna get to this state, is my understanding, is you get to this state, and then it'll be like, oh, you don't have wood planks, so don't award them this advancement. But if you did, for example, the sand one, if you just pick up sand, it'll get here and be like, yep, you meet all the criteria. It will call it'll call an advancement reward stack grant somewhere. And this will add the recipe to your inventory, which boom, boom, boom. Whoa. Add recipe by key, award the recipe, add the recipe to the recipe book, which then recipe unlinked trigger. There we go. Unlocked. Trigger. Unlocked. Which is a whole other slew of things. But we'll get to that next time, guys. It is time for the end of stream. But thanks for hopping on. Appreciate all y'all. Come back tomorrow morning. I'll be here. Peace.